Hello there everyone, and welcome to the Ratchet and Clank 2 Minimum Gadgets playthrough. This is one that I've wanted to do for some time, so I hope you all enjoy.
Welcome back to Behind the Hero, Ratchet and Clank.
Fancy dress balls.
And the wiener roast at Al's.
Oh yeah, that. We're still pretty busy, but in a more, domestic sense.
Yesterday, I flushed out my Ruby Lube.
Right. I guess no one needs a hero right now.
Miss Noodlebottom, I found our man! Welcome!
What the?
I'm Abercrombie Fizzwidget. I must humbly request your sustenance. This top-secret biological experiment was stolen from our testing laboratory by this robotic masseuse.
We'll do it! Sir, ready for launch.
And origami.
That make any sense?
So, yeah, I intend to skip the majority of cutscenes in this game, but I'm going to be leaving in a couple of the shorter, like, segue-ish scenes like this one, just to kind of help things flow a little bit better, but really, I want to speed this up. I will say right now, if this is your first time seeing this game, if you don't know anything about it and you want to get involved with the story and the characters, I'd advise you go to another playthrough. This isn't really aimed at newcomers to the game or to the series. What I'm doing here is my goal for this playthrough is to get through the game while collecting as few of the so-called required gadgets as possible. In order to do this, I'm basically going to be turning the game inside out. I'm going to be exploiting glitches, level design flaws, collision detection errors. This game is remarkably broken. I mean, most of the Ratchet and Clank games are, but this one kind of stands out for reasons that we'll get into later. The reason this run is possible is because of two particularly game-breaking glitches, one of which is exclusive to this game, the other one is shared in one form or another with other games in the series, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. But with proper manipulation of these two glitches, you can basically do anything. You can go anywhere you want, you can access areas that you weren't supposed to, unused chunks of levels, go through any door, refight bosses. The possibilities for this are not quite endless, but really, really broad in scope. So, like I said, it's going to be skipping a lot. There are entire planets that we're just never going to visit because there's no reason to. A lot of the planets in this game only exist to give you gadgets that I'm not going to be collecting, so what's the point? I'm also doing it on challenge mode. If you're doing the type of playthrough that I'm doing here, one where you skip a lot of required items, you actually have to do it on challenge mode. I'll get into why soon enough. And I'm also doing it without armor upgrades, partly because I don't like the way they look. Especially the final one, I think it looks fucking ridiculous. But also just for a bit of extra challenge. It does mean there are enemies near the end of the game who can one-hit kill me though, so that's always fun. Anyway, here we are on the first proper level of the game. As I'm sure most people already know, there are two different pathways that you can take here. You can either head north up to the shopping centre or south down to where the guy will sell you the tractor beam, which we're not going to be getting. But before we move forward, I want to take the opportunity to show off one of the two major glitches that I mentioned before, and it involves first-person mode, which is a challenge mode exclusive. It's incredibly awkward to play the game like this normally. However, it does have one benefit to it. It lets us do this. Okay, let me explain. So when you're moving around in first-person mode, you can do all the things that you normally do. It's a completely separate entity from the manual first-person mode that you enter by holding, was it L1? Yeah, it's L1. So you can jump, you can shoot, you can do all the things that you normally do, except for swing your wrench. When you hit square, Ratchet he'll boomerang his wrench forward, like he does when he's crouching, or when you're using the L1 aiming. When you throw your wrench at the height of a double jump, which you normally can't do, Ratchet gets a little boosty upwards. And as soon as the wrench comes back to you, you can immediately throw it again. It's absolutely lagless. So combining these two aspects together means that as long as you're close enough to a surface, you can climb any wall or any facet of the geography with relative ease, as long as you know the timing, and the timing isn't difficult to learn at all. You can more or less just mash square as long as you keep a certain rhythm to it. And you can go almost anywhere doing this. With practice, you can climb along horizontal surfaces, you can go upside down. I cannot believe they left this in the game. Or they didn't realize this during testing. I think first-person mode must have been something that they just sort of threw in at the last minute. But oh, it's so fun. First-person mode is my favorite thing about this game because it's so broken. The fact that you can go anywhere, you have so much mobility. It is staggering, and the possibilities are fantastic. The second glitch that I'll be showing off soonish isn't as game-breaking. First-person mode is really sort of the crowning jewel of this game, and I love it so much. It's so much fun. I wasted a bit of time here, unfortunately. I don't know why I didn't just use the Rhino on this boss, because like I said, I am trying to speed things up, but I actually sort of attempted to fight it fairly, and yeah, I got hit and lost my multiplier. So that was a bad decision on my part. That's an annoying thing in this game. If you get hit when you have your shield up, you don't take damage, but you do lose. Yeah, I just used the Rhino in the end anyway, so what was the point? Yeah, if you get hit when you have your shield up, you lose your bolt multiplier anyway, even though you don't take damage. And I think that boss would have taken off about half of my health if he had hit me, so it was still worth having the shield up, but annoying nonetheless. Anyway, over here is the second gadget that we're going to be skipping in this level. This is the Dynamo. For those who don't know, you use it to activate these little green gizmos on the wall, and they generate platforms or lifts or just something to help you progress in the level. The Dynamo is probably the easiest gadget to skip. There's only maybe 1 or 2 places in the game where not having it it poses any sort of problem. But at the end of the day, it's a gadget that assists you in terms of level progression. Like, it helps with mobility, which is completely worthless considering the fact that we have first-person mode. So who needs platforms when you can just grapple up the side of the wall? Like this, look, see? Fuck it. The tractor beam only really poses a bit of an poses a bit of an issue in the next level. After that point, the tractor beam barely gets any use at all. So things get off easy, well, get off to an easy start, but my god, some of the later sections. I'm thinking, if I had to sort of point at one gadget in particular and say that, you know, this is definitely the hardest one to skip, it's probably the Terminator. Because there are some sections that are just awful without the Terminator, really dreadful, but, you know, we'll get to those another time. I'm recording these I'm uploading these as I go along, so as of now I've only got the next part recorded. That may change if I don't know, not worth getting into. I'm not going to try and promise a schedule because, yeah, that doesn't work out for me. Anyway, over here is the second major glitch that I want to show off. There have been variations of this in every game in the series, but this was the first one I became aware of. You have to use either the decoy glove or the mega turret glove, and jam yourself into a corner, preferably. You can do it without corners, but it's more annoying. And basically, go into the manual first-person aiming view and keep throwing them down as close to your feet as possible. And eventually, you can get pushed through walls. As you can imagine, this is game-breaking in its own little special way because it means that you don't have to worry about getting... If there's a locked door that you need to, you know, help someone to have them open for you, don't need to worry about it. If there's a door that you open using a specific gadget or by hitting a switch, don't need to worry about it, just push yourself through the door. And I'm actually going to be showing another practical application of this now. So, over here is a gravity ramp. You're supposed to come back here after you've gotten the gravity boots, and you can get up here and fight a secret boss. Nothing out of the ordinary there. However, for some fucking reason, on challenge mode, the developers decided to lock off this boss. You cannot get into this boss arena on challenge mode. I don't know why, it's just something they decided to do. But what you can do, however, is use the... I don't know if this glitch has a name, it's just the wall clipping glitch as far as I'm concerned. You can push yourself through this wall It's really annoying to do, but it is possible. I've had more success by doing it in front of the glass rather than in the corner. You can actually get into this guy's arena and fight him, and there is a challenge mode version of this fight programmed into the game. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get through any... yeah, there we go. And can I just say right now, actually fighting this boss on challenge mode is awful because he has so much fucking health. You have no idea how much health this thing has. Running out of ammo is a very real possibility. Like, look how little the Rhino's doing. Most powerful weapon in the game, and it's barely scratching this thing. And it does have a one-hit KO attack, so... yeah, you never need to fight this thing on challenge mode. It is purely for the sake of, you know, testing your skills, or fuck it, testing your patience more than anything else. But there is an easier way to fight this thing. So, you know, I'm doing okay at the moment, but yeah, I fuck up eventually. I miss a jump, and he gets the... yeah, here we go. Gets the instant kill on me. There is a much easier way of being able to fight this thing on challenge mode, which I'm going to show off now. What you want to do is go around the corner from where the ramp is and find this little rock by the wall, this little artichoke looking thing, and toss a couple of decoys over here. As you can tell, the boss music has started up, and what this essentially does is we have alerted this boss to our position from outside of his arena. And when you actually get inside here, when you go down the tunnel and trigger the fight, the decoy is still where we left it before. So this boss is going to continuously grind up against the wall trying to reach the decoy because it prioritizes the decoy over you. So that just turns the fight into a patience test more than anything else. You know, he's just going to rub his face up against the wall and you can just empty bullets into him. If you've got a gun you want to upgrade, then now's a good time to do it. But like I said, that fight is completely pointless. I just wanted to show that you can do it. And because the game doesn't expect you to get the box breaker twice, you have to sit through the cutscene again, even though you gain absolutely nothing from it, which is super. So that was Oozler. We don't ever really have a reason to go back there again. Something went wrong on my map here. It took a second to load in. Not sure what happened there. And we're going to be going on to the Magtar Resort. So, for the rest of this part, I'm going to cover the first of the two pathways. I'm going to leave the Colosseum pathway until the next video, because that's just not quite as interesting. Here I've cut out most of the space battle, because, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, I'm only missing one trophy on this file, and it's the one for getting all the ship upgrades, so I was being a filthy whore in terms of getting Raritanium off of this part. You don't need to see me do that. Notice that little uncomfortable pause there at the end. This is the PS3 version. I must stress that all of these glitches work on the PS2 version as well. But the PS3 version has some issues with loading, and that's a significant fucking problem in one of the areas coming up. Look forward to that. For the most part, though, the PS3 version comes with 1, 2, and 3, and 2 is the most stable. Ratchet & Clank 1 has some weird compression issues, especially during the cutscenes, and 3 has problems. I don't like Ratchet & Clank 3, I've never clicked with that game, and the PS3 version is a bit of a glitchy mess. 2 is actually the most stable, even though when you're playing the game on the original hardware, it's by far the least stable. Anyway, over here is the aforementioned part where the tractor beam is a necessity. We need to get over to this car over here, and what this normally involves is you use the tractor beam, move that pillar out of the way, and then go through this little network of... I don't even know what this place is supposed to be, it's like a little facility. But we can't do that, so there's a couple of ways you can get around this. You can push yourself through the wall by where that pillar is using decoys or turrets like I showed before, but it's really difficult and it's not worth the amount of time and hassle. The easier way of going about this is to grapple up the side of the wall here. One thing you're going to notice when you're going to places you're not meant to is some areas are solid and some areas aren't. Like here, I've become one with the wall, but this orange chunk over here is solid. there's a surprising amount of climbable... How can I word this? A lot of the level geometry actually has collision detection in this game, so if you get up onto a high building, chances are you'll be able to stand there. So like up here, we can see down into the main body of the facility itself, and it is possible to clip in that way, but there's a much easier way of getting over to this car, ignoring random chunks of level floating off in the distance. Just line yourself up like I have here and boost forward. And that saves you a lot of time. It's way easier than trying to go through that whole tractor beam section there. And the only issue now is actually getting into the car itself, because you're supposed to use the tractor beam to launch that bomb at the little floating satellite things. And the developers actually did think ahead here. If you use the first person trick to climb up on top of this force field, yeah, there's a lid on it. It's basically just a bubble that encompasses the car rather than a wall. So we're going to have to push ourselves through it. Thankfully, there's a really convenient little corner on either side of this thing, and you can just get through relatively easily. The only problem with doing this trick, and this is kind of a recurring issue at several points in the game, you can push yourself through the floor, but I mean, this game checkpoints you fucking constantly anyway, so it's not really an issue. The only time I think it's genuinely annoying is when you get to Joba, because it's just a long stretch of level without any checkpoints, and yeah, there's a lot of parts where you have to push yourself through walls there. Anyway, this fucking satellite, remember the issue I mentioned before with the PS3's loading problems, right? Well, on my previous save file, I was going through the game normally, I'd just gotten into challenge mode, and I got to this satellite. This tower over here was the last one that I destroyed, and then either because I wasn't paying attention for whatever reason, or maybe my thumb slipped, I don't remember, I fell into the lava, and I died. You get 2 bounces and then the 3rd bounce kills you. However, the PS3 version, like I said before, has issues with loading, and the game sort of hung after I destroyed the last tower, and it triggered the cutscene that you get for clearing this section as I died, and as a result, it put me back on this fucking satellite with no way to re-trigger the cutscene because those towers stayed destroyed, and I couldn't get the coordinates to move on. It completely killed my save. I was not amused. I had no way to get off that satellite, no way to move forward. Oh man. Anyway, best cutscene in the game coming up, so I'm going to shut up.
Good.
I couldn't skip this one.
The wind in your hair, the sun on your skin, the bugs in your teeth. We are the Desert Riders.
Before I became a desert rider, I didn't fit in anywheres. I had low self-esteem, bad breath, and a thing for ladies' undergarments. But these guys understand me. They really do.
Yeah, I'm just here for the bake sales. Oh yeah, I also make these cute gloves for all the guys.
So if you've got what it takes, use this temporary membership to enter the most grueling hoverbike race in the galaxy. Win it and become one of us. Desert Riders, the #1 leisure choice of thugs for less.
Oh, that really is fantastic. I'm probably going to watch all the Desert Riders cutscenes because those are just brilliant. I do like this game's sense of humor. I mean, the series as a whole generally has quite good writing anyway, but this game in particular, there's some really funny lines in it. I just love the bugs in your teeth. It's brilliant. Anyway, that is pretty much all I have to show for this part, so I'm not going to say for certain when the next part will be uploaded, but... Oh yeah, this part here. Because we didn't lower the barrier, the bridge doesn't extend to take you back to the main area, so what you can do instead is just save and reload, and it will put you back at the ship. Anytime you get stuck in this game, if you ever get yourself into an area where there's no way out, or you sort of like... Yeah, if you get yourself trapped, save, reload, it'll put you back at the ship. No problem. But anyway, that's more or less all we have to show for now. Next time we're going to be going on to... I'm going to skip the Colosseum challenges because you don't need to see that shit. when we come back, I'll already have the electrolyzer, which is a required gadget, unfortunately. And we're going to move on to the... what's the name of the planet that has the desert riders? That one and Megapolis. So, until next time, thank you for watching, and take care.